During a tender moment one evening, Robert suddenly stared intently at me. "Emily," he said, "why don't you try letting your hair down?" I looked at him, my heart sinking instantly. 7 years. This was the first time he had ever noticed what hairstyle I wore in bed. "Where did you get the idea that letting my hair down looks good?" I asked, looking at Robert. In the dim yellow light of the bedside lamp, his eyes flickered. "I just mean, it's always tied up. I wanted to see you look different." He leaned in to kiss me, clearly not wanting to dwell on the question. I pushed him away, but he held me tightly, his lips like struck matches, igniting fires all over my body. I don't know when it happened, but Robert's technique had gotten even better. Before long, he had me so aroused and confused that I couldn't think straight. It went on until past midnight. I was completely exhausted, without an ounce of strength left. As usual, Robert carried me to the bathroom, helped me wash up, and then carried me back to bed. "Emily, what do you want for breakfast tomorrow?" Robert stroked my head. Unless he was on a business trip, he would wake up early every morning to make me breakfast and then drive me to work, doing everything himself, 7 years straight, day in and day out. I yawned, exhausted. "Whatever." He pulled me into his arms, muttering something in my ear that I didn't quite catch before I fell asleep. The next morning, when I woke up, Robert had already made breakfast. "Did you buy a new lunchbox?" I poked the cartoon character on the lid, wondering when Robert had started liking pink. "The old one broke. I just grabbed this one at the mall. If you don't like it, just use it this morning, and I'll get a new one later," he said, opening the car door for me. A faint scent filled the car. "Did you change the air freshener too?" He'd been away on a business trip for over a week, and this was the first time I'd been in his car since he got back. Robert glanced at the air vent and said casually, "The old one ran out. I picked this up when I was getting the lunchbox. I thought the scent was pretty good. What do you think?" He looked at me. I didn't say anything. The air freshener had a faint lavender scent, a smell I'd always hated. Didn't Robert know that? Of course he did. When he was pursuing me, Robert had made a special little notebook to record all my habits, preferences, and dislikes. The notebook was soon put away, because he had memorized everything. Robert shouldn't make such a basic mistake. Seeing my expression, he immediately said, "You don't like it, do you? I'll go buy a different one today." He was still as sensitive to my feelings as ever. I'm a high school teacher, a homeroom teacher, working from 7 in the morning until 10 at night. Robert dropped me off at school in the morning and picked me up after work in the evening. He was quick. The car air freshener had already been switched back to the one I'd bought before, but smelling the familiar scent didn't make me feel much better. The hairpin I'd clipped to the mirror earlier that morning was gone. I'm sensitive by nature and lack a sense of security. Robert had specially labeled the passenger seat, "wife's seat only," to prevent any other women from sitting in his passenger seat. So, who had used this mirror after I got out of the car today? "Look at this, do you like it?" Robert picked up a gift box from the back seat. He often gave me gifts. In fact, he never came to pick me up empty-handed. Handbags, cosmetics, luxury items, sometimes just a bouquet of flowers or a delicious little dessert, but they were always things that would make my eyes light up. I liked surprises, so for 7 years, he had tried his best to create them for me. "You don't like it?" Robert once again caught the absent look on my face. I shook my head. He opened the gift box, took out a necklace, and put it on me. I recognized the logo. It was a brand I often bought from. They'd just launched new items a couple of days ago, and I'd mentioned it casually to him. He'd remembered. He paid attention to everything about me. It was a habit ingrained in his bones over years. I had also gotten used to paying attention to him. So, any small oversight on his part would become a thorn in my heart. The next morning, I swapped classes with another teacher, planning to visit Robert's company. My job is busy, so I rarely came here and didn't know anyone. The front desk didn't recognize me. "Hello, do you have an appointment?" I swallowed my attempt to introduce myself. Because I saw the necklace on her neck, from the familiar brand Robert had just given me one from last night. Hers was just a different style. A moment later, another woman walked over. "I'm all set. Thank you, Secretary Davies." So, she wasn't the front desk, she was a secretary. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Miller's secretary?" My brain hadn't even started thinking, but my mouth had already called out to her. The woman turned around, smiling and nodding, 2 sweet dimples appearing at the corners of her mouth. "Yes, are you looking for Mr. Miller?" Robert actually had a female secretary. Before, to put my mind at ease, everyone close to him on his staff had been male. I'd been deeply troubled by my ex's unclear boundaries, and Robert had scored many points with me during our courtship by having strong boundaries. But how long ago was that? How long had it been since I knew about the changes around Robert? The woman called Secretary Davies led me into the conference room. "Please wait here." She brewed coffee and placed it in front of me. As she bent down, her collar dipped slightly, revealing a red mark on the side of her collarbone. My temple throbbed. Robert also liked to kiss me in that spot. "Your necklace is lovely," I blurted out unintentionally. But thinking about it, It wasn't strange for me to say that. She was wearing an open-neck shirt, the necklace was clearly visible, anyone who wasn't blind could see it. The woman touched her collar, looked up, and gave me another smile. Thank you. Her smile was sweet, reminding me of brightly colored, fresh macarons. Someone like her must like pink. If you don't need anything else, I'll get back to work? She was still smiling. I nodded. Just then, her phone rang in her pocket. She excused herself and took out her phone in front of me. A cartoon character phone case. It looked like it matched my lunchbox. What a coincidence we were. I suddenly felt like laughing a little too. Sorry, it's my child calling. I was afraid he needed something, so I had to take it. After hanging up, Secretary Davies politely offered an unnecessary explanation. She didn't really need to explain. I hadn't revealed my identity. From her perspective, I was at most a friend of Robert's, her boss. You have a child already? She looked really young. Secretary Davies' face showed a shy smile, and she said another unnecessary thing, he's 5. I genuinely laughed. You don't look it. A figure appeared outside the conference room. Robert had arrived. Emily, what are you doing here? He walked to my side, looking straight ahead as if Secretary Davies wasn't even there. I subtly glanced over. Secretary Davies' face showed surprise. She lowered her head and stood respectfully in front of me, apologizing properly. She looked timid and meek, as if I had just bullied her. Go back to your work, Robert said, but he didn't look at her. He naturally took my hand, brushed past Secretary Davies, and walked out of the conference room. The staff downstairs are useless. They don't know you don't drink coffee. Robert called someone to get me fresh container of milk. I sat in his office chair, taking in the whole office. Floor-length heavy curtains, a glass wall. I stood up and leaned closer to look. A woman's handprint? Unpleasant images immediately flooded my mind. My chest felt tight, and I couldn't breathe. What's wrong, Emily? Robert asked from behind me. Like I said, he was very attentive to any subtle change in me. I turned back to look at him. The aroma diffuser on the corner of the desk emitted a faint mist, still the annoying lavender scent. His face was veiled in a thin haze, making him hard to see clearly for a moment. But you didn't tell them that your wife doesn't drink coffee. There was no trace of me in his office, not even a photo of us together. Robert paused. I didn't know you were coming. He didn't apologize. He no longer apologized as his first reaction. He didn't know I would come, so he could have a female secretary. He didn't know I would come, so he could fill his office with things I disliked. I suddenly realized that I spent 15 hours a day at school. During that time, I had no idea what he was doing. Emily, he walked over, reaching for my hand. I'm sorry. He finally thought to apologize. The doorbell rang outside. My container of milk had arrived. It was still Secretary Davies. Her necklace was gone, but her hair was still tied back. Yes, she also wore her hair tied back. So, who was the one with her hair down? Robert used a wet wipe to clean the container of milk for me, unscrewed the lid, and handed it to me. He did this not because I was particular, but because he had a cleanliness obsession himself. He never used secondhand things, whether objects or people. Secretary Davies, I called out to her again before she left. Secretary Davies turned around, facing me, still standing respectfully. Your child must be very cute, mustn't he? My position was slightly behind the other two in the office, allowing me to clearly see that after hearing my words, Secretary Davies glanced up at Robert, and his face instantly went pale. I had classes in the afternoon and had to hurry back to school. Robert naturally made time to drive me. About Secretary Davies. He looked like he wanted to explain. Because my original secretary, Secretary Jones, took some time off, and she happened to be available, she was transferred over for a few days. Everyone else around me is still male. So, he still remembered the promise he made when he was pursuing me. He must also remember how troubled and insecure I was because of my ex's unclear boundaries. He had built a secure fortress for me during the height of our love, and now he had personally destroyed it, pushing me into a darker abyss. If you don't like her, I'll transfer her back or even fire her when I get back. Traffic was building up on the road, cars bumper to bumper, as if there was no clear path for us to take. Why are you so nervous? I even managed to smile. Because I showed up once, someone at your company is going to lose their job for no reason. What will your employees think of me if that gets out? I don't care, Robert said. Their thoughts, even their livelihoods, don't matter. All that matters is your happiness. I looked at him. Robert, you're so good to me. But all the good things you did for me, it turns out you were reserving a portion of it for someone else in a corner I didn't know about. The car stopped by the side of the road. I stroked his face. This person, who was originally mine alone, was now little by little, tainted with the marks of someone else. Robert leaned closer, wanting to kiss me. I instinctively dodged. I need to get to class. There's a corner by the school gate, a blind spot for people outside, but from here, you can see everything clearly. Usually, Robert would wait for a while after I got out of the car, in case I'd forgotten anything or needed something else. But this time, he left quickly. I stepped out of the shadows, couldn't suppress the churning in my stomach, and ran into the restroom to throw up. After emptying my stomach, I took off the necklace and casually threw it in the trash. I don't use secondhand things, and I don't want anything that isn't exclusively mine. Emily, I've had HR talk to Sarah Davies. She'll be leaving tomorrow. Robert had indeed fired Sarah Davies. You have your break in a few days, how about we go on a trip? I'll arrange my work over the next couple of days. I checked the time. Indeed, I had my break next week. Every time I had a break, he would make time to spend with me. Except for one time. That was 5 years ago, shortly after I started at this school. We had planned to go on a trip together during my break, but Robert had a sudden work arrangement and had to go on a business trip. So, he bought tickets for my friends too, arranged the whole itinerary, and had them go with me. Back then, he would often video call me, making my friends laugh and say that a CEO who was so decisive and ruthless in business was so clingy to his wife at home. His clinginess, his doting on me, everyone knew about it. But now it seemed that everyone didn't include the people around him. I threw up again. Maybe I'd caught a cold. The nausea wouldn't go away. I asked my supervisor for leave and drove myself to the hospital. The hospital was a distance from my school. When I arrived, it was the doctor's lunch break. I sat in the waiting area, but then I saw someone unexpected. Sarah Davies was here too. She seemed not to see me, walking straight ahead with single-minded focus. On impulse, I followed her. She went all the way to the pediatric ward. I hid around the corner, waited for her to go inside, and then waited another 2 minutes before slowly walking over. It was a VIP single room. The curtain was pulled back just enough to allow someone outside to glimpse the warm scene within. Robert was sitting by the bed, holding a storybook, his expression gentle, as if he were reading aloud. On his other side, Sarah Davies sat quietly, smiling, her head resting on his shoulder. They were both looking at the child on the bed, the child who looked remarkably like Robert. What a loving little family. I couldn't help but be affected by the atmosphere, curving my lips into a smile. Then I felt an itch on my face. I wiped it casually and my hand was wet. I guess I was touched. I gently pushed the door open. Robert was reading the end of the story. Sarah Davies was smiling, and the little boy's eyes were sparkling. I leaned against the doorframe and clapped. That was a wonderful reading. Robert didn't finish the story. Sarah Davies' smile froze on her face. The little boy on the bed looked at me, his eyes shining with innocent curiosity. Mommy, is this Ms. Miller your friend? He then looked at his mother by the bed. Sarah Davies' profile was still leaning on Robert's shoulder. They were motionless. I'm a friend of your mommy and daddy's, I explained with a smile. The little boy didn't deny it and asked, then are you here to see Leo, Ms. Miller? Yes, I came specially to see Leo. Are you feeling better, Leo? Leo smiled brightly. Leo is much better. Leo took his medicine and shots like a good boy, and ate lots of food. The doctor Ms. Miller said Leo will be well very soon. I smiled back. Leo is very brave. I hope you get well soon, Leo. I happened to have some cash in my bag, which I'd withdrawn to attend Robert's friend's wedding reception. It seemed appropriate now. I took the money out and placed it on Leo's bed. I didn't have time to bring Leo a gift, so consider this a little something to celebrate. Leo quickly shook his head. Thank you, Ms. Miller, but Leo can't take it. Mommy said I can't take things from other people casually. I was a little surprised. Oh? Is that so? I looked at Sarah Davies beside him. Her hair was down, half tucked behind her ear, her profile visible. There were fresh red marks on her neck, glaringly obvious in the sunlight. Ms. Miller isn't just anyone, I said, turning my gaze back. Leo was still looking at his mother, as if seeking her approval. On the other side, Robert remained frozen, like a wax figure. He probably wouldn't move until he figured out what to say. I walked out of the room. Outside, the sun was shining brilliantly. It was a truly warm and lovely day, but I felt cold inside. It was then that I remembered I had come to see a doctor. I squeezed the clinic card in my hand, finally snapping it in half and throwing it in the trash, along with my bracelet, earrings, and brooch. As I was emptying my wallet, Robert came running after me. Emily, why are you at the hospital? Are you not feeling well? See, he still remembered to care about my health. I wanted to laugh. It was utterly ridiculous. But instead, hot tears started to fall from my eyes. Robert became flustered instantly. He couldn't stand to see me cry. Whenever I did, he felt worse than I did. That's why everyone said he was completely in love with me. But now, looking at him, I couldn't tell if the heartache in his eyes was real or fake. How long? I asked him. Robert lowered his head, not daring to look at me. Emily, please listen to me explain. I couldn't bear to listen and cut him off. Don't call me that. My voice was too cold. He panicked and nodded repeatedly. Okay, I won't call you that. Don't be angry, don't make yourself upset. Can we go somewhere, and I'll tell you slowly? He told me the story of him and Sarah Davies. All the mistakes stemmed from a drunken, absurd night. He said he was hazy from drinking and thought she was me. My stomach suddenly churned violently. So, the bed we shared night after night, he had already been intimate with someone else on it. How many times? How many times had he been intertwined with her on that bed while I was teaching evening classes, preparing lessons, and grading papers? Just that one time. Robert held up his right hand, as if swearing an oath. Emily, if I wanted to hide it from you, I wouldn't be telling you all this. It was really just that one time. When I woke up, I gave her a sum of money to end it, and it really was over. But later, she came back to me and said she was pregnant. Robert's expression softened. I was someone who was afraid of pain. Before we got married, we had agreed not to have children. If we truly wanted a child someday, we could adopt one from an orphanage. He had agreed readily back then. You're not healthy, you're afraid of pain, and you don't want scars. I didn't want you to suffer. I remembered that, so I had planned not to have children. But, he looked at me, his eyes full of remorse. This child was already here. She appeared in front of me, heavily pregnant. I thought, if I had a child, maybe Grandfather George would be very pleased. And I lost my father when I was very young. I know very well how much a child without a father misses out on, in childhood and in personality development later. I couldn't bear it. I stared at him. Have your family members found out about this child? Robert quickly shook his head. No. Until you agree, I won't let anyone know. I agree? Was he actually hoping I would agree to bring this child into our home? Emily, didn't you say back then that if we really wanted a child someday, we could adopt one? Leo is at least my biological child. I looked at him, at this face I had touched and kissed countless times, traced with my eyes in moments of passion. But now, I felt utterly unfamiliar with it. I felt like I had never known the person in front of me. Robert, I stared at him, saying each word distinctly, you make me sick. I got sick. Gastroenteritis and a cold. I felt completely groggy, my limbs weak, struggling to lift even a light package. Because of this, I could unabashedly cuddle with Mom and act spoiled. She would just think I was feeling bad because I was sick, not that I had gone through something else that would worry her. Mom, did Dad ever lie to you? Mom was braiding my hair. She paused, then continued a moment later. Silly child, no one never lies. I was stunned. Dad was universally recognized as a good husband, a good father, a good man. Even he would lie to Mom? I lay on Mom's lap with my face turned away so she wouldn't see my expression. Then aren't you angry? Dad lied to you, and you don't fight with him. In my memory, they rarely argued. Mom smiled. Of course we argued, you just didn't see it. But your dad knows where the line is. He has a sense of responsibility towards the family and wouldn't do anything out of line. So, I didn't control him, and we were both fine. Mom, I hugged Mom's knees, suddenly feeling very sad. Is there really no such thing as a perfect relationship in this world? Mom sighed. No one is perfect, so naturally, there's no perfect relationship. It just depends on what you want. Between husband and wife, you have to tolerate each other for it to last. But, Emily, some things you can turn a blind eye to, and some you can't. Her tone became serious. For the things you can't tolerate, don't be soft-hearted when they happen. Otherwise, they will become a pebble under your mattress, wearing you down your whole life. That's right. Perhaps with the passage of time, I would gradually forget the pain, wanting to turn back and forgive because of the warmth of the past. But those things would always be there, and I would repeatedly remember Robert's deception and betrayal. And when his guilt had gradually worn away, how long would he be able to tolerate my occasional resentment? I wiped my face. Mom, have you ever been so sad that you felt like you couldn't get through it? Mom gently stroked my head. Of course. But it always passes. Emily, you have to believe that there are always turning points in life, as long as you live well. I found a lawyer and drafted divorce papers. When Robert came to see me again, he looked much more haggard, his chin sharper, his eyes dark and bruised. Even though he had tidied himself up well, the fatigue and dejection in his eyes were undeniable. Emily, you told me not to bother you, to give you time to cool down, and I did. Now, can you give me another chance? He pushed a termination contract, 2 airline ticket printouts, and several photos towards me. I've already fired Sarah Davies. I gave her a sum of money and told her to take Leo abroad and never appear in our world again. He then placed his phone on the table. I can delete all my accounts and start over. If you don't trust me, you can install tracking devices on my phone and in my car, or even surveillance. He had even prepared the procedures and added, if you don't trust what I've prepared, you can find someone you trust to do it yourself. You can even replace everyone in my company. You can sit in on the recruitment process with me and hire whoever you think is good and arrange their positions. He clearly came with full sincerity. Besides these, there were also many gifts. Emily, please, give me another chance. I truly know I was wrong. I can't live without you. I've thought a lot during this time, and I regret it immensely. Robert, I called his name softly. He looked up, staring blankly at me. Was it really just that one time with Sarah Davies? I asked a seemingly unrelated question. He was startled at first, then perhaps caught a hint of hope in my words, and nodded forcefully. Just that one time. I was foolish, Emily. I only love you. With her, it was just a moment of confusion. I never touched her again. I laughed. I genuinely wanted to laugh, and then I laughed harder and harder until tears streamed from my eyes. Robert was scared by my reaction, staring blankly at me. Emily, what's wrong? I wiped away the tears from laughing and took out the package I'd hidden behind me. Take a look. They say men, when caught red-handed, might still struggle to claim they were just sleeping in the same bed and nothing happened. They never cry until they see the coffin. Robert was a man, he was never an exception. The package was sent by Sarah Davies. Inside were intimate photos of them, and even sexy lingerie and some little toys Robert had bought for her, all kinds of things. She said she wanted to show me Robert's other side. I saw it. I saw how decisive and confident Robert was at first, and I saw his fear and loss of composure after seeing all the evidence. Do you have anything else to say? I looked at him calmly. Robert didn't dare to look up, his lips trembling, unable to speak for a long time. Then, he knelt down in front of me. Emily, I'm sorry, Emily. He finally didn't dare call me his wife anymore. I didn't mean to lie to you. I was afraid you'd be angry. I was just too afraid of losing you. He knew. He knew it would hurt me, make me angry, make me leave him, but he still did it. Betrayal plus deception, a double offense. And the reason was just because I would be angry if I found out. Robert, you don't regret doing any of this at all. Your only regret is that you didn't hide it well enough and I found out. I swept the contents onto the floor, the photos landing all over him. I'll grant your wish. From now on, whoever you want to mess around with, whether it's one or several, has nothing to do with me. You don't have to hide it anymore, because I won't be angry with you anymore. We're getting a divorce. I slapped the divorce papers onto the table beside him. Sign it if you want to sign it. If not, we'll go to court. Your company finally got government investment. I doubt you want a scandal breaking out at this critical juncture, do you? I left the room. Robert knelt behind me, crying out in pain. He still held on to a sliver of hope, hoping I would soften and forgive him, so he didn't want to make a big fuss. He didn't dare come to my house to find me, instead waiting outside my school gate every day, all day long. I acted like I didn't see him, and he didn't dare approach, until this day. It was the afternoon before my break. In the morning, I saw a student's parent and walked out with him. The parent was the student's uncle, named Alex Carter. He was young and handsome. Robert saw us and finally couldn't help himself, getting out of his car. He blocked our path. Alex Carter was surprised. This is? Robert quickly introduced himself. I'm her husband. I glanced at him coldly. We're already divorced. Robert insisted. Not yet, I haven't signed. People were coming and going at the school gate, and I didn't want to get entangled with him here and become a spectacle. Let's go, I said to Alex Carter, trying to bypass Robert and leave. He grabbed my arm. Emily. He worked out regularly and was strong, and I was slight. Of course, I was no match for him. Fortunately, Alex Carter saw the disgust on my face. Mr. Miller, I don't know what's going on between you two, but Ms. Miller said you're divorced. I don't think you should continue to bother her, especially at her workplace. Robert stared at him with cold eyes. My conversation with my wife is none of your business. I utterly detested this facade he put on in front of outsiders. Robert, I am no longer your wife. I told you, I'll give you 1 week to consider. If I don't get a response, I'll file for divorce. Also, you are causing me distress right now. If you keep harassing me, I will call the police. I struggled to pull my arm free and dragged Alex Carter away by the sleeve. Robert stood frozen, watching our backs as we left, lonely and lost. I was very worried that Alex Carter would ask about Robert and me, or that a teacher's private life would cause parents unnecessary concern about the teacher. But he didn't. We had a simple meal, and he drove me home. Before I got out of the car, he suddenly asked, Ms. Miller, want to exchange text messages? If there's anything I can help with, just let me know. I smiled, didn't answer, and closed the car door. Drive safely. I said goodbye from outside the car. I didn't need to rely on one man to pull me out of another man's mess. I had already packed my luggage at home, preparing for this break. There were still 2 or 3 hours before the train departed. I took my time showering, putting on makeup, and changing clothes. My friend messaged me on text messages, urging, why aren't you here yet? Hurry up. Let's go have some fun. I found it amusing, exited text messages, and continued applying lipstick. Just then, my phone rang. An unknown number. When I answered, Robert's voice came through. I had blocked him a long time ago, so he was calling from a different number. Emily, the divorce papers, I've signed them. I'm across the street from your house. Could you come over? I'll give them to you. I checked the time. Just leave them at the lobby desk. I'm heading out and don't have time to come get them. Robert's voice sounded nervous. Where are you going? I answered coldly. That's none of your concern anymore. Robert fell silent. After a while, he said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask. But could you just come get them? It'll only take 5 minutes. Just this once, Emily, he pleaded. Hearing no response from me, he added, signing the papers isn't officially divorced, you know. We still have to go to the courthouse to complete the formalities. There was actually still time. I hesitated. I really didn't want to involve my parents and make them worry, so I agreed. I left my house and saw Robert's car parked under a tree in the distance. Trying his old tricks, he had prepared some gifts for me again, and also for my parents. Emily, I figured it out. Dragging this on will only make you resent me more. So I'm willing to sign these papers to end things properly and give us a chance to start over. I didn't respond to him, just flipped through the divorce papers he handed me. It was modified from the version I had drafted. He had given me more assets. He only wanted the car and the house we lived in together. As for the company shares, he was giving me 70%. He wanted more opportunities to interact with me. Aren't you afraid I'll sell the shares? I looked at him. He shook his head. Was he afraid? Of course he was. This company was his life's work, but he was still willing to gamble. I put the divorce papers away. Let's go. There was still time. I wanted to go and complete the formalities with him first. Not many people were there today, and the process was quick. Only when signing and stamping did Robert's eyes turn red again. Holding the certificate, I expected to feel a sense of relief, but there was none. I stood in front of the courthouse entrance and looked back. I suddenly remembered coming to get married back then, both of us beaming, holding the red book and looking at it again and again. Back then, we must have truly believed we would spend our lives together. Where are you going? Let me drive you, Robert said, opening the car door for me again. No need. I started to leave, but he grabbed me, his eyes full of pleading. Emily, just this once, let's end things amicably. I looked at him. Robert, you don't have to be like this. If you knew this day would come, why did you do what you did back then? Honestly, you have a child now, and Sarah Davies is pretty. You could have gone and lived a happy life as a family of 3. You don't have to act in front of me anymore. Robert's tears fell with every word I spoke. I'm sorry, Emily. I don't want her, I only want you. If I had known this would happen, I would never have allowed her to have that child. Robert, the child is innocent. Since you brought him into the world, you should be responsible for him. Go and spend time with him, give him a complete father's love. I looked into his eyes. After all, you know best what a child without a father's childhood is like. With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. Each step forward felt heavy, but I told myself, don't look back, Emily, go forward, don't look back. My break was 4 days long. I spent every day with friends, time-filled and happy, quickly pushing those troubles out of my mind. At night, I took the train back, but when I entered the house, I saw Robert's shoes. He was at my place. He must have been staying there for the past few days. My parents didn't know about our divorce, so they naturally treated and accommodated him as usual. I called him into the room. Robert, we're divorced. The papers are signed, and we've got the certificate. What are you doing here now? Robert looked completely innocent. Mom and Dad don't know yet, do they? We have to put on a show, otherwise they'll notice something's wrong. Dad's not well either, let's not worry him. He really had found my weak spot. I stared at him. Don't you dare try to blackmail me with this. Let me tell you, your grandfather George isn't well either. He probably wouldn't want to know what you've been doing outside, would he? Robert lowered his eyes. Emily, I wasn't trying to blackmail you. When we can tell your family, I won't bother you anymore. Until then, I also want to show respect and help out Mom and Dad. They've been nothing but good to me. I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to them. Stop talking. I was tired of hearing these words from him. What good was repeated remorse for things that had already happened? Would the wounds just disappear? Let's go out. Since we were acting, we had to go all the way. I planned to send him back and stay at a hotel for the night. But I didn't expect that shortly after we left, we would encounter an unwelcome guest. Sarah Davies. Sarah Davies, who was supposed to be living a good life abroad with her child, suddenly appeared here. Her eyes were sunken, her skin sallow, and she looked much older. I looked at Robert, his expression was just as surprised. Emily, I didn't know. I completely cut off contact with her, he instinctively tried to explain to me. Before I could speak, Sarah Davies suddenly lunged. She wanted to kill me. She wanted revenge for her son. It turned out Leo had always been in poor health. After going abroad, he got even sicker. But Robert, worried about me, hadn't contacted them again. Leo hadn't seen his father before he closed his eyes. It's all your fault. You stole everything that belonged to me. Sarah Davies rushed towards me, gripping a knife. Feeling, thoughts, everything slowed down in that instant. I stood there blankly, watching Sarah Davies charge at me, but the terrifying pain didn't come. Robert had shielded me. Blood stained my vision red. Robert, like a tattered falling leaf, swayed unsteadily. I think I heard Sarah Davies screaming, or maybe I heard nothing at all. The scene was chaotic, with passers-by, doctors, and police, coming and going, yet it felt as if nothing had happened. Only Robert lay in my arms, blood covering me. Emily, in this life, I'm sorry to everyone. Yes, he was sorry to everyone. I loved him, he betrayed me. Leo loved him, he abandoned him. Don't be like this in the next life. I raised my hand and covered Robert's eyes. In the next life, let's not meet again.